Okay, unmute my mic. That's a good idea. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Crossing Zebras, episode number 6. We are back after basically my life was screwed over by exams and probably blues as well. We've got a great show tonight. We've got some stuff that's been going on in the community that we're going to talk about. But before we start talking about the topics, let's see who we've got on. So, guys, please introduce yourselves and what you're drinking, apart from Blue, because obviously you're too young.
I'm not too young, fuck you. I'm 18. So you're going first, dude.
Oh, I'm supposed to talk now? Okay.
Please do.
Hi, I'm Dunk Dinkle with Brave Newbies. And I like to fly Logi ships and do soundboards and comms and do things like this.
Nidhoggers are cool, man. Nidhoggers are cool.
And that's it. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're so bad. I'm kidding. Hey, I'm Chessur. If you don't know me, check me out on YouTube, Chessur SB, or I guess my new Twitter account. I'm going to be an Alliance tournament caster for ATXIII, and I guess I am known for flying small gang and solo.
Wow, the label swapped. Great. Blue, please talk about yourself.
I'm Blue, I'm co-host for this show, and I am the military director in Brave, and I tell Donk what to do. And yeah, basically. Big shout out to our sponsors at evebet.com. They do amazing bets that you should go check out for Eve related stuff. So yeah, go have a look at them. If somebody could link them in chat, I'll link it.
Yeah, they like during the Alliance tournament, which we're going to talk about today. It's super fun to be betting on your favorite teams, and they do non-Eve stuff as well. But we're all kind of having some alcohol tonight, so I thought it'd be nice if we shared what we're drinking. I'm having what's probably going to be laughed at for being a fairly girly drink, but I really like the taste. It's Brothers English Toffee Apple Cider. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a chick drink. Do you drink that with a straw as well?
No, I drink it from the bottle. I can't go full girly until I get my sambuca out.
I'm kidding. Nice. I have some Espolón Rosato tequila with the fresh cut lime to go along with it. It's super delicious. If you haven't tried it, you should get it.
Can we just, before we go to Dunk, can you just show everyone your view if you're not afraid of doxing yourself?
Yeah, sure.
That's amazing.
So I live like 25 stories up in a high-rise in Chicago, and my main great room is just ceiling to floor windows basically everywhere. So it's pretty nice, but the sun can get kind of annoying.
Also, for the people who work on CZ, you're shouting at me in Skype. I know the labels were wrong. I fixed it. I can't actually look at Skype or it will screw up the webcam. So if you want to communicate something to me, do it in the stream chat because I am watching that. Dunk, sorry, what are you drinking, mate?
First of all, leave Apothne alone. Second, I'm drinking the vanilla porter from Breckenridge, Colorado. It's deliciousness in a bottle.
They've got good skiing there. They have really good skiing there in Breckenridge.
If any companies that we mentioned or other companies wants to sponsor Crossing Zebras and send us some booze, then that's totally fine. We can negotiate and plug whoever, really. Just send us alcohol. Like Blue doesn't have any. We got to get him some, right?
I've got nuts.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, what have you been flying this week, and what do you want to fly next week? Let's start with Chessur.
So what have I been flying this week? Honestly, I haven't been playing a ton, but when I have been flying, I've dunked a few carriers with my Bargast, and I've been playing around with my new Jackdaw. I'm still working on the fittings that I really want for that, so it's kind of what I'm working on. As far as for next week, I don't know. I'm thinking of like going back to some slicering, like hardcore, like beam slicer. I've got a new fit I want to try out.
Dunk? Nidhoggers?
I haven't been flying my Nidhogger recently. Since we last chatted, I did get another carrier Doomsday, which was delicious. Fly a lot of scimitars, executors, that kind of stuff. And then also got to blop some people around with my Panther because it's the best blopsing ship.
Panther's a badass. I used to own a Deemer and then I sold it after Feed It. Blue, I believe I have a story about what you've been flying this week.
Well, I actually FC'd my first fleet in 2 months yesterday. First 2 fleets, actually. So I flew a Harpy, and then I flew a Tengu. Yeah.
Would you like to tell us what happened?
Oh, we did pretty well. Yeah, we fought. First off, we had a Kestrel fleet that we went to. We went all over Eve using some wormholes, and then we had a Stratop later at night for in the US time zone, where we formed an Eagle fleet and we fought Black Legion, and we defended our system. So yeah, and Donk was there, and he was in the Simi, and then he got in an Armageddon.
Yeah, then I had to switch to the Armageddon, but you killed the carriers before I got back with the Armageddon.
Okay.
And then you had to keep shield reps on my Armageddon while the bad people shot me.
So, first order business. One of my favourite things in EVE Online. There's been a lot of talk about, a lot of stuff going on with it since our last show, which is like 6 or 7 weeks ago now, something insane like that. The Alliance Tournament, we've got rules, we've got commentators, we've got most of the teams apart from the random draw. I'm fortunate enough to be commentating again this year. We also have Chessur, who's coming to commentate for the first time. So, Chessur, how crazy excited are you to be commentating the Alliance Tournament? Once I heard I was going back again, I was just bouncing off the walls.
Honestly, it didn't hit me for a little while, but then I started actually thinking about it. And I've been to Iceland a few times before for FanFest, and I just have had a blast. So I'm sure this time it's going to be even better, because not only am I going to get to hang out with CCP, hopefully see some awesome new things that are in the works, but definitely get to hang out with a lot of other EVE nerds, and then I will not feel so isolated here in Chicago.
Yeah, one of the things, the first day we got there approximately across the Wednesday last year. Then first thing Thursday morning, we went to the CCP offices, front desk, they handed out NDAs. And we just, sign these, we're not saying anything until you sign them now, get them done. And then generally, as soon as you sign them, CCPers are just so happy to come and talk to you. Hey, I've been working on this, isn't it cool? Obviously, they make sure your NDA first. With one exception of CCP Rise, who came with us and talked about a lot of new things he was working on that were completely messed up. And then he left the room, ran back in. It's wait, you've signed your NDAs, right?
That's so funny.
It was hilarious.
I'm kind of stoked to see any other cool or cute things that they have planned for us. It hopefully should be enlightening to kind of see where CCP is planning to take the game, because their changes recently as far as SOV and some other mechanics that they're doing are just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I really love the direction CCP's going. Obviously it's not perfect and it requires iteration, but they're aware of that and they're doing it really well. Speaking of the Alliance Tournament, Dunk and Blue especially, Brave are taking part in the Alliance Tournament for the first ever time last year. You tried last year. I'm getting echo through you, Dunk, I think. Ah, okay. How are you finding practicing? Blue, have you ever done any AT stuff before? What's your experience as a brand new alliance going into it?
Well, we've not done it before.
Yes.
But yeah, we had our first practice, actually just now. And we won a match against RVB.
Nice. RVB are historically a pretty decent team, so that must be pretty nice to know that you're hitting the ground running.
Yeah, it was good. It was a bit hectic at first, but we're definitely improving. I mean, we're improving every time we practice. So yeah.
Are you doing big open practice with as many people invited as possible? Or are you trying to keep it on the down low, keeping it really secret with a small group of people?
We're doing both. Yeah, we're practicing with with test and such, but we're also doing our own practices by ourselves. So yeah.
Aren't you concerned practicing with test that a lot of the setups, ideas, and strategies that you're working out are going to get kind of dissimulated and dispersed?
Well, we're not going to do everything with test.
I see. I still think it's kind of a risk, but I guess if you need people to practice with.
I think it's a really interesting decision you have to make, where if you exclusively do in-house, you can kind of get tunnel vision and have an incestuous relationship between your theory crafting, and you can take your own little meta down one direction based on how your players think, but it'll be secret and very few people know about it. However, if you train with everyone else, you kind of get to see a lot more of what everyone else is thinking, but they get to see what you're thinking. And teams have taken different approaches. Some teams I believe Camel and Hydra practice practiced together last year, but with no one else. So they kind of had an agreement that they'd work together and things like that. Chessur, what's your opinion on like super secret or playing about and practicing with everyone?
Definitely super secret. Just because the meta in EVE is only, I think, privy to a very select number of people that spend their entire life in EFT and have encyclopedic knowledge of EVE and everything that you can do, as much as like secret techniques that I know of that I just can't even talk about here because it's NDA within my corp. Sharing those or letting people see those is going to completely ruin any type of surprise, trump card, or ace in the hole that you have, which becomes very, very clutch, and it's a huge strategic element when you get deeper into the tournament.
Okay, so I don't want to go too much into the Alliance tournament because I want to try and get an Alliance tournament episode on when I can possibly get Squeeballs and Elise and maybe even Logibro on. So let's go into the super big topic that's got everyone really angry. Fleet warps. Fleet warps
Hallelujah.
are changing. Fleet warps are happening. I'm really
Hail.
happy that I've got you guys on to talk about this with, because we've got Chessur, who anybody who's watching this must have seen Chessur's awesome videos. It was like insane, like up to Balgorn, pimp fit, insane badassery, down to little feathering, kiting maneuvers with an Imperial Navy slicer. Like, Chessur is like one of the top guys in EVE at the moment for small gang and solo PvP. We've got Blue Ice, who is block level FC of Brave. He obviously commands around the newbies and some less new newbies these days in their Eagles. Like, big fleet warps can be an intrinsic part of your fleet. And then also you got Dinkle, who isn't an FC in and of itself, but he commands the Logi often, which is almost like very analogous to an FC role, and obviously controls a very important part of the fleet and is receiving those fleet warps and using them as part of keeping the logistics safe and keeping them well positioned. So guys, as soon as you heard this news, what were your first reactions?
I was really happy.
Ecstatic.
They are wrong.
Absolutely ecstatic. Like,
So-
they are wrong. No, definitely
So,
not.
Dunk, you seem to agree with the majority of Reddit and the EVE Online forums. Why don't you like these changes?
Well, first of all, EVE Online is a game that should be enjoyable and fun. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be challenging. But the simple fact that anyone who plays EVE is so much harder core than any other video game player in the universe, we just
I
have to
disagree.
accept that. I think it's true. I think it's very hardcore to play EVE and put up with it all. No. So I think that there's been lots of changes that they've made in which they've made the game, to use the word from someone else who posted online somewhere, it's making it more tedious. To be a capital pilot now is more tedious. And now fleets are going to be more tedious. And instead of clearly articulating what they were trying to achieve, they're making this huge swing for the fences with a sledgehammer. And instead of saying, all right, warping the entire fleet's too much, maybe wing commanders can do it, or even squad commanders can do it. But if they talk about people wanting to be more involved and dispersing their responsibility, they've done none of that down to the absolute minimum level of individual pilots. So what are squad commanders supposed to do? Why can't they do the warping, right? That would be a step to see if it changes the meta or not. As it is now, they're not going to back off. It's going to be chaos, and a lot of people are going to be frustrated. And I understand the elite PvP types and the theorycraft types think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I think the online Reddit and Evo forums show the average line player is kind of bummed out about this.
So, Blue, why do you like this change? But
I just want to clarify. The changes are specifically about basically probe results and bookmarks, right? If you yourself can't warp to that, then nobody else can warp you to it, right?
Basically,
yeah.
If you both have the same bookmark, then
that doesn't matter.
Think you could warp to them. But
yeah,
like if it's a celestial, like if you could jump into system and warp to it without any preparation, you can be fleet warped to it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
If it's a probe result or if it's a bookmark, you cannot be warped to it.
So why I think this is good is because basically in every situation that I could think of, apart from a couple, but I'll talk about those afterwards, there are ways to work around this. So if you want to get a warp in for your fleet if you want to use a probe result. It takes one more step, and that's quite a big deal. It means that you have to send like a covops there first, and then you can warp your fleet to it, because there's nothing that's stopping the FC from warping your fleet to another fleet member.
Yeah.
So that's the first point. So probing isn't dead. You can still warp people essentially to probes. It just takes a little bit longer. So for stuff like for fleets, for like general fleet versus fleet engagements, it's not going to really change that. When I say that, I mean ships that tank and sit there with logistics on grid and shoot other ships. It's not going to be very different for that. You can just warp your fleet to a cloaky. But what it will change is for stuff like bombers, because having that extra step, having cloaky warping, it's going to delay the bombers, and everybody knows that bombers is all about timing. And for stuff like the windrunners, the artillery frigates, the artillery. What are they, claws or something, right?
Yeah, and they can be some ECM bursting as well.
And ECM bursting NTs, those aren't going to work anymore very well, because you can't really put somebody on grid beforehand in the middle of their fleet. And you have to have basically perfect timing, and it's very hard to do in a game where server ticks happen every second. And finally, the third thing that really got affected is Peats. I think Peats are going to be very, very strong.
Yeah.
After the they're not going to be invincible, because you will be able to have like a fleet of bombers, seaboat bombers, each with a probe launcher, and each warp in yourself, or put somebody on there beforehand and warp everybody to them. But it's just going to take longer, and it's going to require a lot more individual piloting. Everybody's going to be able to have to use a probe launcher, maybe. So I think it's a good step. I think it requires a lot more involvement from other people rather than just one person doing everything. I mean, the one FC could multi-box, 3 accounts. But
I'm already sick of doing like links and eyes on staging systems and flying my own ship. Someone else do it. Like someone else do all of those things.
Yeah, currently for me, I normally multi-box. I do 2 accounts. I do my FC2 and then I do the links. And now it seems like I'm probably going to have to do the warp in as well. So that's 3 accounts now. But yeah.
So, Chessur, tell us about the small gang solo implications.
So, for me, I just want to point out that I disagree entirely with Michael's point, and I don't think that EVE players at all are hardcore gamers. They're not. If you want to go with hardcore gaming, check out the guys that play like Digital Combat Simulator, like Flaming Cliffs 3. I play that game as well, and that is beyond what EVE is, that's for sure. As far as from a small gang perspective, the changes are elegant in their construction just because of how many things that they fix without having to redo ships individually, and I love that. There is a little bit of collateral damage with wormholes, and I know that CCP is aware of that, and they're looking for ways to fix that. But going back to small gang, going back to solo, the implications that this has is huge. A lot of times when I'm out flying with my small gang, 2 to 3, 4 pilots, we have a gang of 30 guys, 40 guys that we're engaging. They will warp to a ping, and then they'll warp to us at 0. And if they don't catch us, they'll warp back to the ping, and then they'll warp back to us at 0. And if they don't catch us, they'll warp to the ping, and we're back to, like, do you see where this is going? And there's no way to counter that, unless you have a dictor with you to bubble them, but that's difficult. So getting the ability now to where, a cloaky pilot can't work because you can't keep up with us on the grid. Cloaks are pretty much useless for a nano gang. You go so slow.
No, I mean a cloaky pilot at the ping, but that's one extra person.
Well, right. I mean, you can certainly do that, but I mean, if you have a cloaky pilot that probes my like Omen Navy issue down and you warp to me, I'm burning at like 3K a second. So by the time you land and by the time your fleet warps to you, I'm going to be 20, 30, 40K away. And then for me, I'm nanoing you at that point, and that's great for me. So I'm fine with that. What this change does is it forces pilots to fly light tackle well. It forces FCs to think dynamically as far as where they're dropping pilots in on the fleet, where their light tackle is, where their dictors are, where they're throwing bubbles. It adds so much more diversity. It adds so much more variety to the gameplay. And to be honest with you, combat probes are OP as hell. The fact that in like 3 seconds you can have your entire
then fix combat probes. Yeah, then fix combat probes.
This
This is what
effectively
CCP does. No, it doesn't.
It fixes it.
Right?
Yes, it does. It fixes
No,
it immensely because it takes more
No,
time.
well, but see, this is what CCP always does. They don't fix what the problem is, right? They still haven't fixed Ishtars after a year.
Yes,
they
they
did
have.
jump. They did.
Did you look at the new changes?
It's been a year. It's been a year. Peats aren't fixed. They're going to be OP. They did the jump
Why?
fatigue and the jump changes, and it made supers more powerful. Like they always fix not the problem. If the problem is combat probing is too effective, then make it less effective. But they're changing the wrong thing. Like,
but it is less effective now. Like,
I'm inclined to. I agree with what you're saying.
CCP does this repeatedly. They don't fix the problem; they fix the symptom.
I think what Dunk is trying to say is that this approach to fixing combat probes has a lot of collateral damage to things that don't need to be affected.
well, what is getting damaged?
Is that what you're saying, Dunk?
What's currently good that's going to be made worse? Or
What's currently good that's made worse? Abilities for fleets to just be where they want all the time.
It just warping to tacticals. We got to fly someone there in advance instead of flying to tacticals. So all fleet deployments get slowed down.
Well,
Everything gets slowed down. It's more arduous,
think
right?
it gives-
Wait. It's wait. And you know, you guys are never going to agree with me, but I think I speak for a lot of people when I say it doesn't help their gameplay style. It may help your gameplay style and your theory crafting, but a lot of people, it just makes a fleet longer, slower, and less fun.
So, okay, longer, slower, and less fun. Why don't you have a smaller fleet? Why don't you have pilots who actually can pilot their ship?
Well, you tell Pandemic Legion and Black Legion and Goonswarm to bring smaller fleets, and then we'll bring smaller fleets. And it just doesn't work that way.
No, you don't,
and we're
you don't
working
understand.
Guys,
You don't understand what I'm trying to say.
So, Chessur is going to come with the small gang perspective, and I think I have an idea. I'm not going to make you like the changes, Dunk, but I have some ideas that I hope will enamor you more to them, okay? So firstly, I think that as a direct result of this, you're going to have a massive defender's advantage. So think about bookmark packs or something like that. So it's not uncommon already. Like there's a guy in Snigwaffle who said, hey, we're on this deployment. I've made a bookmark pack of tacticals on every gate in Pureblind, because they're up there at the moment. So if you do that for Brave in Fountain, anybody who wormholes to you, anyone who travels to you for the fight, they no longer have the advantage of bookmarks. Whereas if you are organized enough to have that spread amongst your pilots, then you suddenly are immensely more maneuverable than them immediately. You have a huge advantage. When it comes to making
maybe have court
fleets,
bookmarks. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a starter.
Yeah. For example,
Well,
a good set of court bookmarks.
you can't warp to court bookmarks. Everyone has to
But
click warp
people-
themselves on the correct bookmark, which is
Yes.
probably asking a lot.
Well, well, still,
That just proves my case. It's just asking a lot, right?
It's not you right click
No,
in
I'm
space and
being
click the right
facetious.
thing. So, and then on top of that, I think that with that maneuverability action, I don't think it's going to make fleets necessarily that much longer and harder. If you're just traveling, you're going gate to gate to gate. You don't need that extra warping.
No, we don't go gate to gate to gate. We go tactical to tactical to tactical.
Have an inty one jumper in front of you. All you
All right,
need.
so
Every other
literally
fleet
one-
has done
All
it
right,
for years.
let's just
One
add that
inty.
to the fleet. Okay, yep.
Have-
Okay,
Because
so
that
you
makes it
have-
more
Blue,
fun.
blue.
It's more fun
You-
to slow it
you-
all down.
Blue.
You have a
Have you-
60-man fleet, and the inti warps at 8 AU a second. How is that slowing
Blue,
it down?
have you ever run a Brave fleet without an inty?
Like, you're literally
like
making
the
no
well-
sense.
fleet.
No, but no, but like the whole scouting the gate first, like I do that anyway with my link ship. I always have my link ship like half a jump ahead, so that like I don't get pipe bombed, basically.
So that will not slow down the fleet at all, because the FC can still warp you to that pilot. So nothing changes there.
And if there's something on the gate, you know beforehand because your link ship is on the
The
gate.
only thing this effectively changes is warping on directly onto hostiles, so it changes the actual combat rather than the travelling, and then it changes some of the positioning, probably pre and post fight with the bookmarks. And that's one of the things I really, really, really like, in that I feel like this is really going to open up a breadth of different combat. In that, so you are absolutely right, in Phoebe it nerfed caps, and it made caps better. I think that we have seen so many more smaller scale bits of cap warfare since Phoebe that it's amazing. PL can no longer Sino through backup Legion across Eve and drop 1 billion supers on top of everything. we've now got to the point where we can go through wormholes and take subcaps through, but we can no longer take the big toys. I think that you may agree that Brave cannot take on and beat the PL Superfleet. If PL are restricted exclusively to subcaps, Brave have a pretty decent, Brave have shown that they can take us on, right? I think that's fair to say.
Don't go too far, but in a certain extent,
we've gone
we've
gone really off topic here.
Anyway,
so the analogy I'm going for, what I'm saying is that I think this change is going to make certain things harder, but by making you not able to do things, you are now working in a smaller box, but you have more things in that box that you can do.
I think that the changes are I think they're great. Being able to field 40 to 60 pilots competently in a fleet now is going to actually require skill and communication. And I think that's great because, people spend their entire lifetimes in EVE learning how to properly fly 30 guys. And now I think it's going to we're taking baby steps. Also, you have to think of the changes in regards to the Entosis link, because an Entosis linked interceptor burning away at high speeds is now just going to not be able to be warped on top of an entire fleet. So this skirmish type of gameplay is going to again come forward, and I think that's a good thing.
The Entosis does add a significant amount of mass to ships, so the
true.
is going to be much easier to catch. I haven't done the math. I
just mean kiting ships in general around the Entosis.
It's going to be very hard to catch.
It's going to be better. It's going to be better.
It's that one extra step. Exactly, yeah.
Okay, it's not really that much
because
of an
kiting
step.
ships are so underpowered right now in the meta. Kiting ships are just so underpowered now. It's just
terrible. What do you mean? What do you
poor
mean
Orthrus and Gnomon pilots,
the Orthrus, the
Garmer
Orthrus
pilots.
Shredded.
It's so sad for them. They have it so tough kiting away from everyone.
I think
Michael, I'm not going to lie. I'm having a difficult time trying to have an actual constructive conversation with you because you go to hyperbole so quickly.
This is EVE. It's all hyperbole. It's like
this is what I mean. Like, are we going to have a discussion, or are we just going to talk about Reddit?
Being straight, not arguing. Are you telling me that the kiting metas with these missile, the Orthrus, the Garmer, that they're not OP right now? You're telling me
the Garmer isn't really that OP compared to the Worm.
The Gnomon is not OP right now.
The Teneman Gnomon? What? The Gnomon is not OP. It's a well-balanced ship. It's good at what it does. The Orthrus is the most powerful ship in the game. CCP recognizes that. I recognize that. But one ship? I mean, really?
I think it's a difference of purpose. If you have a couple guys in your skirmish and you're fighting, kiting is exceptionally, amazingly powerful. If you control range, you control the engagement, kiting is going to win. And that's why the small gang solo pilots do the kiting, because it's very powerful. I think that if you want to take a grid and Entosis it, a kiting gang will be able to do fuck all to like a bunch of, beam APOCs that can project out past the possible DPS range, so the kiting gang either do nothing or leave or die.
What people don't understand is that kiting isn't necessarily the best thing. Projection and application is really what determines everything. So sniper ships don't have the ability to control range, but they can shoot you from 0 to 250, and they don't give a fuck. And that's something to think about.
I think it's a very good point that Pete's and even sniper, possibly even sniper tornadoes, Pete's especially, let's just say, they will need to be looked at. I think that they will be too strong if these changes come in as they are. Pete's currently are balanced, especially with the Entosis. Pete's are balanced by one guy with a Ventroprober. Yes, that's true.
You can't receive reps if you're running an Entosis link, so how do you kill somebody running an Entosis link? Warp 50 Pete's, it's dead. Done.
Really like what's happened with the shield extender and the plate rebalance, which is kind of off topic, but you can now with hacks do a lot more fits that are MWD and not less awful. Like an MWD Zealot before was a bit with the slightly lower PG plate you get a little bit more to play with, so I think we're going to have a lot of very mobile but still I think it's going to lead to more mobile feats, but not crazy kitey nano stuff. I think that there's going to be much more definition in the scale from triage TFIs we're not moving for the next 10 minutes to hi, I'm in an Orthrus, catch me if you can. I think there's.
But an Orthrus isn't a strong fleet ship, though. That's the thing with the ship. No. It's not a strong fleet ship at all. I mean, it works good as like a kiting little thing, but it's certainly not a strong fleet ship.
As a fleet ship, I wouldn't take out a group of 20 Orthrus. Well, actually, I would, because people in PL are rich, and that's all they'd want to fly. But so I think they're really cool changes. And bear with bear your disbelief. Cool things will
Well,
happen.
I will add one more thing. Now, I don't go into wormholes very often, but all the people I've talked to in wormholes, and almost universally what I've read of other people who I don't know in wormholes, when they're not doing secret sex parties in their wormholes, they are very upset about these changes for some very important reasons that I don't really understand. But they're all very upset with this, and I think, to your point, it does interfere with their gameplay significantly. They're not the same kind of fleet engagement, small gang or big gang, or big fleet, that the rest of us do in null and in low. And I haven't heard a lot of answers about how it's not going to affect them in a very negative way.
I think
So
that the
CCP
thing-
recognizes that, and they've talked about it, and they're looking at ways to fix it. Like, obviously, it's not a perfect fix, but I think for now, especially with the advent of Vazisav being fully deployed, I think this is a good fix. It's unfortunate that the wormhole guys are getting kind of shit on here, but CCP recognizes that it's a problem.
I think that Alliance bookmarks is something that they've been talking about for a while, and something I hope coming soon. Because I think that if you have a bookmark that you need to get to, have it in your Alliance bookmark. Instead of the FC warping everyone, instead of... So FC will say, everybody aligns, then FC hits warp. So now it will be, okay, everybody align, everybody warp to this bookmark. And you'll have to have a good naming scheme, but you warp to this mark. So instead of everybody waiting magically, they listen and press the right button, in the same way they do when you broadcast targets. I mean, is that incorrect?
What do you mean? Like, you would
Not
prefer a
everyone's in the
system?
same
You would
alliance.
prefer a system like that and alliance-wide bookmarks?
So say you're in a fleet with guys in your alliance, which the majority of EVE PvP that isn't... I'd probably say small gang with friends. Like the vast majority of PvP fleets in EVE Online are within alliance. I don't... there's public roams which fall outside of that and should be mentioned, but if we have alliance bookmarks, and again, you have that good set of alliance bookmarks, and you have guys that put the effort in and prepare, I think it's putting preparation, putting thought, and having motivated, intelligent people as part of your alliance, those content creators that we already love, having that is only going to benefit your alliance.
Yeah,
it increases the skill ceiling.
Fleet bookmarks.
During this entire conversation, the points you've been bringing up, Apothne, as far as having those alliance bookmarks that you mentioned, having the defender's advantage, which I didn't even think about, but definitely is something to bring up, are just adding to the different steps, adding the complexity, like you've been saying, and I can't agree with this more. I think that people that are having this knee-jerk, Reddit circle jerk reaction to down with CCP, down with these changes, are either very, very limited in their scope of the game understanding, or they're very limited in their scope of foresight as far as what this is going to do as far as the meta is concerned.
Well,
if people bring up the excuse that, oh, that's not our brand of fun, or oh, monotony for the sake of monotony, then don't play EVE, because EVE is inherently monotonous. It's not a game. EVE is a simulator, essentially. If you want to turn EVE into a game as best as you can, go fit up frigates, go join FW, go to the nearest novice plex. There you go. There's instant content for you, and you have to do almost no work to get it. But if you want to be a soft holding alliance, if you want to be in these epic fleets of hundreds of people that get this dank warp in or this amazing bombing run, you're going to have to do the work for it. I can tell you that all the guys living out of Thera, we logi ourselves, we scout ourselves, we bookmark ourselves, we go roaming ourselves, we do fitting ourselves. We do all of these things to make this content. And then people get salty when they have to do just a little bit more to get the same content that they were getting. But it's no different. It doesn't change our workload at all. I just think it's a poor excuse.
I mean, there's a lot of people...
I just don't see the benefit. I mean, the benefit is solving what problem that people were having in the game. There's plenty of problems we have in the game, and I'm not clear, and I don't think Fozzie was clear in the show on what issue he was trying to address, other than making kind of theory craft. We would like a sniping doctrine. We would like fleets to be more tougher, which, again, isn't what the mainstream EVE player is talking about.
So I think that if we go back in time, and I'm a really bad person to talk about this, because this is before my EVE experience, so take everything I'm about to say with an even bigger grain of salt. But there were days long ago of sniping battleship fleets.
Yes, attack apocs of old.
Where, in modern day EVE, if you have a sniping battleship fleet, it's going to get instantly warped on, you're not going to track anything, you're not going to be able to line out and get out in time, and you're just going to die to anything, because in order to fit the big, heavy, long range with the tracking computers, you're sacrificing so much tank. Right, so I think that it's going to While,
the thing is, though,
while it makes
these,
things harder, it's going to open up a lot of different gameplay. And there are people in the chat saying, there's Kitty Grinder says, Apothne, but honestly, that's silly. Unless CCP is trying to force fleets to get smaller, can't expect 100 plus people to warp to the right bookmark. I honestly don't know what is difficult about right-clicking in space.
Yeah, if you
having
cannot
a well-named
warp to
set
the
of
proper
bookmarks,
bookmark, you've got
the
issues.
right one.
You've got lots of issues.
I would like you to get them all to just not broadcast for bomb damage and show me how good that works.
I have no interest in flying with pilots who do not take the game to a personal level where they see their piloting mistakes or they want to improve. I have no interest in playing with people that aren't like that. And one second, Apothne. I think that, and I've said this before on Reddit, and I'm going to say it here too, just to make sure that everyone's very clear. I think the biggest problem plaguing EVE is its player base. I think that its player base, the majority of it, has taken EVE, and I think that they're playing EVE in such a way that it makes it difficult for CCP to create really, really emergent gameplay choices, really, really awesome gameplay balance changes. And I think that is that's a shame. And like this conversation right here is like my point.
Go that far. I agree with you that style of gameplay should exist, but I also absolutely agree with Dunk that there should be a way to play EVE that you can just come home, you can log in, you can do a fleet, you don't have to spend hours learning how to manual pilot, you don't have to spend, theory and all that stuff. And I think that there's things that are going to take away from that gameplay of being able to play more casually, and that can be thrown around as a very derogative term. This doesn't
change the casual.
I don't think it changes. I think that I just don't see a problem with right-clicking space, clicking if you name the core bookmarks well that you're handing out, in the same way that if you hand out ships, people don't have to learn how ship fitting works. If they just say, this is what my alliance has told me to fly, I can fly this. Okay, these are the bookmarks my alliance have told me to have, I have them, and now I'm fine, and it's good, and it's, 5 minutes work picking. You can contract out sets of bookmarks. So I absolutely agree with Dunk that there should be a way for the casual EVE player to just sit back, have a good time, not have to put a ton of personal effort into it, and their gameplay to still be valid and good and fun. I just don't see this as a threat to that. It adds
it's definitely not. But I mean, if EVE sees itself as very hardcore, and EVE players always taunt themselves as being so much more intelligent than the scum WoW players and all the other gamers that exist on this planet, then why do people make the argument then to cater to the lowest common denominator? Because if that's what we're trying to do, then EVE is in a very interesting place, because EVE players see themselves as a cut above the rest. But here we are making these gameplay choices to show how cut above the rest we are, but everyone complains, and now you're making the argument, Apothne, about how, lowest common denominator. Where do you find a happy balance with that?
I'm saying that the casual player should be able to do it and have fun. I also think that the player puts time and effort and preparation and really thinks about game should have an inherent advantage, because they're putting more of themselves into the game. In the same way that if you play CSGO, I could log into CSGO now. I play it like once every 2 weeks. I am going to get destroyed by the professionals that spend all their time on it.
Right.
I'm not going to land a shot, right?
Right.
But and I think that EVE should be a game where you can absolutely play the game, you can absolutely have a lot of fun by just not having to learn much, just by doing the base essentials that we currently learn, which is still inherently very complex, I believe. And then Counter-Strike is terrible. It was a terrible example. But I think that there should be that gap, that skill ceiling that should be very, very high, and makes the game very interesting to me.
Right.
In the same way that when I used to play StarCraft, I started out in Bronze League. I could play against Bronze League players, I could have okay matches, and I was awful. After a ton of practice, I got into Masters League, I started commentating StarCraft, and I started to understand the more complex stuff, and I can do more complex things. I started playing and hanging around with the better players. And I think that EVE is not as simple as that, because you don't have a ladder, everyone's in the same place at the same time. But I think that EVE should be a game that allows for both play styles should exist, both play styles should be fun, and I think that this change is something that stops the guys who put a lot of time and effort in being auto-countered by a broken game mechanic. And in the same way, I think that peats are going to be broken in exactly the same way and need to be fixed.
I completely agree with you, Apoth. I think that this change hasn't just completely destroyed the ability for somebody to play casually. It just makes it so that somebody who does set up all these bookmarks and somebody who does get everything sorted beforehand and puts a lot of effort into it is going to be a cut above the rest. Because you can still do the, warp to somebody, put the cloaky beforehand, the FC can still do things to cater for people who don't want to put the effort in, but people who do put the effort in are always going to be ahead, and I think that's what is important.
I mean,
I think that's very interesting.
Personally,
I still think it's interesting though that people that are in 0-0 alliances, which in the Eve is supposed to be like the end game, like the people who are the quote unquote end game like masters are in the 0-0 land fighting for Sov.
I think your end game is what you define it to be.
Oh no, I agree with that, but I'm saying that mechanically, Sov holding is the end game of Eve as far as player interaction is concerned. So when people say, "Oh, well, let's make it super easy for casual people to come in and do this like really significant stuff with Sov and really significant stuff with their fleet, but yet have no effort to put into it," it almost is like
I don't think they can.
It's a huge dichotomy.
The casual players that are involved in Solve, and again, I'm trying to make the point that I'm saying casual, and I don't hate casual players. I'm not using a derogatory as mark. It's just
no. Casual players are important to any game. Like League of Legends has it perfectly. Yeah, like you have casual players who can play, and then you have LCS.
The big impact in Solve is fueled by the casual players, but it is not done by the casual players. It's the organizational people, the FCs, the logistics guys, both the repping and the hauling kind. It's the guys who understand Solve warfare, it's the campaign commanders, it's the people who make bookmarks, it's the people who scout pauses, the people who do third-party tools like your forums and your websites. They spend so much of their time making this awesome game Eve accessible and fun to play for the casuals. Like, if you just had a group of exclusively the casual players that we're talking about, they'd all die instantly because they don't have an FC, they don't have a scout, they don't have logistics pilots, they don't have even a fleet set up. And I think it's finding how the people who are more hardcore and the people who are more casual interact. I think that currently with the way alliances work and organization works, that's a really cool way of things working. And speaking specifically about bookmarks, I've never warped a fleet somewhere as a standard tool. I only recently got my Lynx character to be able to fly command ships. I have always told my pilots to everybody align here, warp here, everybody align here, warp here. Occasionally, if I had another Lynx pilot, I could get him to do it, but the vast majority of times on almost every fleet I've ever done, and we're talking easily over 1,000, maybe over 2,000 fleets in the past however long, I have never had a problem with... I mean, you have people being idiots, but people are idiots regardless. From when I was FCing Eve University to when I was FCing Waffles, when I was FCing PL. When I first came into PL and started FCing, people were kind of used to being warped around. Like, people got used to it and they were relaxed it and they were expecting that. So the first couple of times I said, okay, everybody warp here. They're expecting to be warped. They realized, oh wait, he's not warping us.
Yeah.
I guess I have to press this button myself.
And I
but
think
then
that's
it
a
was
problem.
okay and it was fine and it was good. They're pressing one extra button when I tell them to.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a huge problem. It takes away player, like basically now, if you really want to get to like the super don't do anything mode, you can be jacking off with one hand the entire time doing fleet, is fly Sentry Ishtars, because then the fleet commander can warp you everywhere we need to go. Everyone drops their drones, assigns the drones, good to go.
I'm really
you do nothing.
glad
You
they're
do
looking
nothing.
at
Actually,
these
I take that back. I take that back. You have to click F to release drones, and then, or whatever your hotkey is, or just right click, and then you have to orbit the FC. Shit,
But you can still do that with one hand.
Yeah, and you can
true.
definitely still do that with one hand. Exactly.
One
exactly.
monitor,
So you got that going for you. I don't know. I spoke with Fozzie and Rise when I was at FanFest this year about this thing entirely, and I think that it's great that people are being forced to fly their ships, and there's being more thought, more input, player input into playing the game and making a big difference. If I had my way, I would take away all automated flight. Like no approach, no orbit, nothing.
See,
I think that'd be hilarious. Obviously, that'll never happen.
I
but
think
that'd be hilarious.
I think that would be a really, really fun and interesting, fun game, and I would love to be able to do that, like on Sissy.
It wouldn't be fun at all. It would be fun. It would be fun for 2% of the people who play Eve right now.
Exactly.
2%.
It should never
Everyone
be
else
in
wants to
tranquility.
look. I want to orbit the force field at 500 meters when I'm repping the goddamn pause. I don't want to have to manually pilot the whole time. There's no fun involved in manually pilot around a pause. Things like that, like you can say them, and I understand you really believe it. And I'm not saying it's wrong to believe it, but the average EVE player would think no approach and no orbit is like, let's just fucking quit this game.
I absolutely agree.
So
I think that
Eve-
as a
Eve is-
separate game, that's really fun, but
Eve
it
is a
would kill
game
so much
of like extreme cases. You know, people that show up to Iceland, people that play Eve, for the most part, are not normal gamers, as we would say. Normal gamers play games like LOL, Dota, CS:GO, Witcher 3, Skyrim. You know, you take it as you will. Eve is an enigma as far as its gaming culture and as far as what it is, as far as the population that it tries to garner. And I guess that's a kind of conversation I wanted to bring up earlier was, do we cater for the lowest common denominator, or do we actually make Eve what everyone touts it to be, which is this super in-depth, super strategical, you know, super only people that are actually really smart and, you know, whatever can actually really play the game.
Look, it's a great point, and you brought up lowest common denominator a couple times. And I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying you can't cater to the top and you can't cater to the absolute bottom. You should be catering to the midpoint of where the majority of your players want to enjoy their time. And that's different than lowest common denominator, right? The lowest common denominator, you know, they're up in high sec, scared of everything, right? And we're not catering to that. But there is a difference between the absolute most risk avoidant player and the most risk accepting player in small gang in the middle. And if you don't address those players, you're going to have players that don't want to play this game and are going to go play something else.
I just
Right.
I want Eve to grow.
I understand.
I want Eve to grow.
Oh, no, I definitely agree with your point there as far as you need to flesh out all areas of playstyle. I think that new players, I think that players who just want to log in, do some level 4s or go quick, you know, blitz their wormhole, I think that's totally fine. You know, you got to play Eve the way you play. However, I don't think this change has any effect on those players, number one. And number two, I also think that something should be said for the exceptional players, the Matanis, the you know, like the Lord Servants, the Garmins, you know, the Dalikas that grace this game, that pull players in based on, you know, their PvP videos. You know what I'm saying? I got into this game because I watched, oh God, who was it? I think it was Wildcat. DHB Wildcat and God's Cold Blood. I think I watched her PvP videos and I was like, oh wow, that's fucking awesome.
So we're really running short on time, so I'm going to try and round off this discussion. I personally believe that Eve is a game where Dunk's players can have fun and where Chessur's players can have fun and exist. I disagree that nullsec is a middle ground to the high sec. I think that your line level low secker isn't actually that much different from your high sec line member.
I agree,
think that they
100%.
do
I agree.
things, and they have different challenges, but I think they face them in different ways, and that's based on experience dealing with both. I think that it is more dangerous to some extent in Null, and you get more PvP in Null, but I think that the day-to-day stuff, high sec and null sec solve as a grunt is kind of similar. But I think that these Fleet War changes, as Phoebe were, are really controversial. I think that they may not be in perfect form yet, and we've seen on Reddit some people saying, why don't we do that, but slightly do this, or just slightly alter it like that. And I think we've seen with CCP over the last few months, they love to iterate, and they say, okay, we've got this idea to do this thing, let's change it and keep making it better. I think overall, the vast majority of changes, Rise and Fozzy and the whole rebalancing all the CCP have done, have been taking Eve, broadly speaking, in a fantastic direction. Dunk brought up the Ishtar.
I agree.
Dunk knows my opinion on the Ishtar from the article I wrote when it came out, and I think that, to be a bit smug, I may have been proven right, but go back and read it on Crossing Zebras if you want, guys, but still, enough masturbation. I think this is a polarizing topic. I think it's really good.
There's never enough masturbation.
I think this is a really good topic, and I think we should keep discussing it, but we should keep discussing it with a level head. We should respect players of all interests in the game. We should...
But make sure to go to fleets while you masturbate.
Yeah, do that. Have one on
Always gotta have that left-handed stranger, right hand on the mouse. You just
there
gotta,
should be a way to play Eve that isn't necessarily easy, but that is casual way to play Eve that doesn't require the intense exposure and study of Chessur, but there should also be a way to play Eve where you can pursue that and you can play Eve in that way. And one of the things I love about Eve most is the sheer variety of things to do, both in kind of PvP, industry, PvE, wormholes, the different types of space, how into it you can get, how you can do a mix, how you can do logistics, big alliances, playing on your own. I think that is one of Eve's greatest strengths. And
Yeah, I agree.
I think that this is a change that doesn't
Minus
inherently
wormholers.
break anything there. And I think that wormholer is having a problem. I think, I hope, I'm not a wormholer, that alliance bookmarks, something can be put in place to make sure they're still okay. I haven't looked at the concerns, so I won't say any more than that.
Well, CCP knows about it, so I'm sure they'll look at it.
Yeah, I personally am really hopeful and really like these changes coming through. I think they're going to be good for the game, and I Dunk has major concerns. I know that Chessur hates everyone who can't pilot their own ship. I know Blue's been quiet, but I'm afraid we are going to have to call it there because we've got 10 minutes until the meat show starts, and you're all going to fuck off and watch that anyway, so there's no point continuing after then. So, thank you all so much for watching. We've been averaging like 80-odd viewers tonight, which is pretty cool. So please, guys, I'm now calling the topic taboo. Let's not argue anymore. Let's all be best friends. Please give your shout-outs.
And masturbate.
And masturbating. Obviously, I'm not wearing any pants below this shirt. You just can't tell.
Who is?
I actually legitimately am wearing pants.
Okay. So,
Dear God. I've ruined it. I fucked it up. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Chessur, who are your shout-outs, my friend?
My shout-outs to Meath and Camel, of course.
Dunk.
And of course to my friend Quark, who isn't playing.
Dunk Dinkle. Always wonderful to have you on.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I enjoy a spirited conversation. My shout-outs go to my brethren in Bovril and in Brovey, who mined a whole bunch of minerals, delicious, locally grown, non-GMO, gluten-free minerals that I'm making carriers out of locally in Fountain. Thank you, people, for your mining time.
Blue.
Shout out to Kelnon and Gertrude, who have been keeping my seat warm while I've been away and doing a pretty good job. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I'm changing CZTV slightly. I haven't actually spoken to the people in charge of CZTV, but I'm just going to say it and then it's going to stick because I fucking run this show. We're going to do CZTV fortnightly. Partly because Saturday evening is a really prime time to play Eve, and as an FC and a guy that really enjoys playing Eve, I want to play Eve. Also, it means that we're going to have enough topics so that we don't have any kind of crappy filler episodes where we don't really talk about anything. So we're going to try going to fortnightly, so next show will be 27th of June, I think, unless something comes up. We may fiddle with the time, we may not, but there will be an announcement post on Crossing Zebras as always. As always, a huge, giant, massive thank you shout out to evebet.com, who are awesome and badass, support CZ in like so many areas of the community. I don't think you can find a community run thing that isn't sponsored by Evebet. They hand out so much ish. You can go there, bet on the Alliance tournament coming up, you can bet on non-Eve things. It's a really cool site. Go there, do things. They're really badass guys. Even if you don't want to bet, just go to the website. It's really, really cool. Again, thank you guys very much for coming on, and we will and keep discussing these topics, guys. It's really important for us to discuss these ideas. So CCP can hear feedback from us. It's not just the CSM. Every time we talk and discuss and bring forward good ideas in a reasoned manner, CCP will read them. It'll help them understand the game more as we understand the game more, and all of us can learn and love this amazing, incredible game better and have an even better time with it as the years goes on. So that is it for episode 6. Again, thank you all for coming. We will see you probably in 2 weeks' time.